direct effect on us as landlords, but also on tenants as well. So bearing in mind the size of the population who rent, and we talked about 4.4 million household, roughly we're saying it's 10 million people in rental accommodation. If you take that as a segment as to why why governments want to do a lot more for them, it's a massive voter base. So that's why all these policies are coming to fruition. So what are the 12-point plan that Michael Gove and that department has put together? First, they want a decent standard for private rental homes. Nobody's going to argue with that. They'll have some charter and some information and some kind of guide about what a decent standard should be, and everybody should be entitled to that. And I don't think anybody who's watching this who cares about their business as a property owner, property business, will dispute that. So that's non-negotiable. Great idea. Let's have some standards. Enforcement in plan to ensure decent standards are going to be adhered. Makes sense. We don't know who's going to enforce this and how does that take shape, but the idea is you'll have a decent standard and they will enforce it. Now, the third point is really where the trouble starts. They want to abolish Section 21. For those of you who don't know or just need a refresher of Section 21, so under the current tenancy agreement that we use at the moment, within that there's a section called Section 21. And within that Section 21, basically, in effect, it allows you to take back possession of your property once the assured short-hold tenancy period has ended. Let's say you rented it for 6 months. After that 6 months, you have to give the notice. You have to give notice to your tenant a couple of months before to say that at the end of this tenancy agreement, on the 6th month, we will not be renewing your contract. Now that's now stated to be abolished, and the challenges for that is you are gonna have some problem with how do you get back properties if Section 21 is one of the routes that we use at the moment. How would you get back properties if there was a problem? And I'll talk about that and how the proposed that would look like as well. So third one is they want to abolish Section 21. They want to also, on the fourth point, they want to reform grounds for possession by landlords. And we'll talk about those 3 or 4 grounds that will be left for landlords to pursue. They want rent increases to be only done once a year. Typically, quite frankly, that's exactly what happens right now. I mean, unless you're an unscrupulous landlord and you're trying to increase rent every 6 months or every time you want, tenants are not going to stay and you're not going to have a business. So proper business property companies will not do that. So here they're saying, yes, they're going to fix rent increases to once a year. Makes sense. They want to, the 6th point, they want to set up an ombudsman that will have all private landlords must join, and then tenants can complain to this ombudsman rather than going to court. This is basically a quicker, cheaper way of dealing with any challenges that landlords and tenants are having with landlords, I should say. The 7th thing is court delays. I think here they're talking about they want to deal with this idea of having everything going through from the housing sector into a county court or magistrate court or whatever else. So because of that, those courts are dealing with so many other cases, it's causing a massive delay. So they're going to look to fix that. And I guess the ombudsman part will be part of that. And the 8th one is basically they want to build a property portal. The idea is that you'll have everything that's needed for a tenant, a landlord, and the council that will describe all responsibilities of each of these stakeholders: the landlord, the tenants, and the council. They call it this one single front door. And the idea is that landlords can understand the responsibility, tenants can check landlord's compliance. And I think these are the things that are going to be some serious effect to landlord community here. Local council are going to be the policing of that regulation. They want to publish a name and shame database of rogue landlords and make it public. I guess this is where the challenges that's happening with single-handed landlords who've not done, quite frankly, have not been trained. They're not running as a business. They are, and I stress that these probably are in the minority, but these are the ones, quite frankly, they're going to be name and shamed, I guess, according to this proposed regulation. Local council, they are expecting local council to get more investigative power to chase rogue or criminal landlords. Council will have to report on their enforcement, because right now, if you look at HMOs, they're charging £1,000, £1,200, £1,500 for any application, and they've had to carve out their cost of application because people were complaining, saying, well, actually, you're making a lot of money for doing not a lot. So here, I guess council will have to report on the enforcement of their actions. I think that's a good thing, because, you know, if like all of us are trying to up the game and increase the standards in the industry, we should be helped by the council, because there's a lot of people still in the HMO market renting very substandard properties. They don't even have a license, because by definition, people who like us who want to be licensed tend to do a much better quality home anyway. So so having the council, hopefully they'll get some money for them to do that, police that'd be great. They want to put laws in place to ban landlord and agents from excluding families on benefits from renting. I think that's already very much in the system right now. Pets, they will want tenants to be able to apply or to request, and landlord must consider and cannot unreasonably refuse from people to having pets. Quite frankly, you know, I've gone from 20 years ago no pets to actually, I think it's quite cruel to not allow pets in homes with tenants, because, you know, a lot of people like having pets and stuff. So I think as long as the standards and the inventory, and you take maybe a deposit, an extra deposit for the pet, I think, which will be allowed, you should really consider letting tenants having pets. And the last one that they're looking at is government will look at innovative passport for deposits. So the idea is you can port those deposits over and over again. And I think that's really good, because that will help tenants will help tenants being able to move relatively stress-free, because once they pay their deposit once, they can then use that and port it again and again onto other properties. So I want to end this on the grounds of possession, because this really is what matters to us as landlords. So what would be left for us if we have issues with tenants? So here there are really, I've stated 4 main grounds for possession. And if you read the article itself on page 33, they talk about it. So first, a landlord now, because Section 21 will be taken off, you will not, if this goes through in its guise, and I stress it's not gone through yet, there is consultation. The NRLA and other organizations are lobbying against, on behalf of landlords, to make sure that there are checks and balances that actually balances the situation, so to make sure that it doesn't negatively affect the private rental sector, both from a landlord perspective but also a tenant perspective. So from a grounds for possession now going forward, if Section 21 is removed, there will be only 4 reasons why you and I could actually claim and ask for that property back. 1, it's that you're selling the actual property. So potentially here they're looking at, giving more than 2 months notice to the tenant that you are going to be selling at the end of, at a certain time, that you'll have to give them notice. And note, because there's going to be no Section 21, these contracts, these assured short-haul tenancy will be gone, and they will be replaced by a new contract system where it's pretty much a long-term contract, and there will be it will go into a periodic kind of system as we know it now. So once the date finishes, it just rolls on and on and on. So unless you've got these 4 reasons, you're selling, a close family member want to rent their property, this will not be allowed